Hey, what's up, guys? Yes, it's your girl Iberica, and you are tuned to Motivations and Memoirs. I am excited. You know why? Because this is part 6 in the series Forgiveness, a Choice We Must Make. You know what I'm excited about? I have another guest whom is coming to share her experiences with you. She is a mother of 3 children, twin girls and a boy. She's a professional. She is also the daughter of an overseer pastor, grew up in church, born and bred, as people say, in church. And I'm just realizing that it is now approximately 10 years since I have met her. We studied together, and I am pleased to, bring her to you. This is somebody who really should not be able to testify, to share anything, because life dealt her some horrific blows. But because of the grace of God, because of purpose, she was able to override all those situations. Somebody who has walked the walk, she has talked the talk, she has experienced the experiences, and she is coming to share a part of her story with you. And I know, as a matter of fact, that you're going to be encouraged, that you're going to be motivated, that you're also going to realize that you may be going through some of what she has gone through. But if she has overcome, then so can you. Okay, guys, welcome back. So I have my guest here with me, as was previously introduced to you. And she is just going to tell you, as I said, how she is led, and just really share her story with you. So Susanna, welcome to Motivations and Memoirs. It is such a great honor to have you. It has been a tremendous journey that I know you have. I don't even know if tremendous is the correct word to describe your journey. Probably you would find another word, because tremendous is something that we say, oh, wonderful and whatever. I don't think that's the right word. So let me just take that word and throw it out, unless you bid me otherwise. But as I said, welcome, and the viewers are raring to hear from just about anybody who comes on the program. I realize that persons are really struggling, and as I said, the struggle real, with this whole aspect of how do I forgive, how do I let go. It is harder for some, it is easier for some, but however angle you take it, the struggle is real, and it is really a challenge. And so glad am I to have you willing to share your story. So go right ahead, sis.
All right, America, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Just to share in your forgiveness series. Well, for me, there are so many aspects in my life, or different things that has happened throughout my entire life. Because when I think about forgiveness, it's not just any one or any two incidents.
Right.
It is like a series of incidents that began from I was a child.
Okay.
And it has propelled me into the person I am today, and even some of the things that has happened to me.
Great.
But what I would like to share with everyone is self-forgiveness. And for me to share with about self-forgiveness, I'll first have to probably explain to you and the other viewers some things that has happened and how is it that I overcame.
Okay.
Well, as I said, that for me, it began as a child.
Right.
So from I know myself, I am different. First and foremost, I was the biggest baby my mother had. And she always say that I'm the biggest baby. And I think her delivery process was a bit traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
And in that traumatic delivery, which was a big baby, at those days, 10 pound, 14 ounces baby was big. I've heard now about 12 pound babies. So I am now small,
Okay.
right? But then people didn't have those big babies. And her delivery experience, as I said, was traumatic. So much so that I got hurt in the delivery process as well as her.
Okay.
Mom said her inside got dislocated. Some joints got dislocated in the delivery process. And I got hurt where my hand is concerned, my right hand. My right hand got hurt because when I was born, she said I didn't cry. So she assumed that when the nurse lifted me up to slap the baby, my hand was hurt because the body is too big to bear the weight of the hand. Because based on how she was recalling everything that happened.
Okay.
So when they gave her the baby, I was wrapped up and she didn't realize because she was in pain and she said her joints dislocated because she could walk and she heard like bones scroop, 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 scroop. That was her description of it. And in that scenario, it was like just a horrific description of a delivery process. And then here am I being left-handed because my right hand got hurt in the delivery process.
Okay.
So I was different. Everybody in my family using right hand, I am left-handed. My hand can't hold up. I can't do certain things. So I felt different, even among my siblings. The other problem that I encountered as a child was that I was on the brilliant side. So my two older sisters, they used to have summer school or Saturday classes with children within the community. And while they were having these classes, I wanted to join because they gave me books and then, I was advancing. So they said, all right, Susan, come because I'll be there playing and making noise at them heads. So eventually they gave in and said, Susanna, come, join the classes. So while I was sitting there and they were going through their classes with the children within the community, sometimes they took long to answer and then I would just burst out the answer. And then even if they asked me, I would be the first to answer. So that persons within the community never like me for that. You're bright, you're not gonna be liked. Me dunce and you bright, me don't want to see you. So I was ridiculed. And then, as I said, because something was wrong with my hand, I have a self-esteem problem. And I grew up with that low self-esteem thing because if I'm walking, I try not to move my hand, cry many times, ask my mother why my hand can't fix, tell her to sue the nurse, sue the hospital. And we have been back and forth at doctors to try to see if it can fix. But the doctors say that it is not a bone problem, it's a nerve problem. So then there wasn't physiotherapy to help to treat this problem. So I grew up with having nothing. Doctors can't say how they can treat or to help my situation. Went to primary school, still being bright. And the other thing that propelled me to have low self-esteem and anger issues and dealing with unforgiveness is that I was tall and I was slim. being tall, slim, and bright was like poison. And being tall, I was asked to sit at the back of the class. And if I knew the answers, the teachers wouldn't ask me to respond. They would try to find other students. So, as a child, you felt that you were being isolated and teacher never liked you. And really and truly, I think some of them didn't like me. For whatever reason, I just felt that way, right? Based on their behavior. So fitting in for me was a problem. So I hated persons around me for all the things that they did. And then I started to fight physically, not just trying to fit in. I started to fight physically. So no, I was labeled as a bully. And then what the teachers did too, because I was tall, I will never forget this too. You know this storybook I used to have in school, Long Leg Tony? Mm-hmm. I had to perform the role of Long Leg Tony, even when I wanted another role. And Long Leg Tony never ended up good because Long Leg Tony was dunce, and Long Leg Tony was clumsy. And that was what I wasn't. And here is somebody trying to fit in, and you giving them a part that is going to demean them even further. So the students teased me to call me Long Leg Tony, and I had to be dramatizing this story and having somebody trip me, when in truth and in fact, the person who tripped me, I don't want them to trip me because what? It's fight. Me going to fight when I go outside. Mm-hmm. Then when Easter came, they're doing the crucifixion story. Who them choose? Susanna forgot play Jesus. No, these teachers set me up so much that I hate the students, I hate them, and I hate myself because I wish that I was shorter. So these were the things that kind of shaped how I deal with things in my latter years. And I remember that I fought so much that they started to keep me out of class. I wasn't able to go into the classes. And I hated them even the more. And I remember once my mother cried so much when she went to school and they told her that they're going to expel me. And it's because she come and she pleaded they're going to give me a last chance. When she came out of the office and she said to me, you make me shame. And there's just the tears, seeing that she was crying, there's the tears, and everybody in the school was saying her mother come because I was suspended. And she said to me, you're going to stay, she's going home. The vice principal told me my mother's going to leave, but I'm going home. I recognized that she was crying. And she said to me that, child, you make me shame. And she left. So with that, those words, it pierced my heart. It pierced my heart. It pierced me to the core. So at that day, I said to myself, I'm going to leave primary school and I'm going to go to high school. So my mother is not going to come back to school to come cry anymore. I left primary school and went to a non-traditional high school. I did not go to a high school. I went to a secondary school. Now, to be bright or to be brilliant and then end up at a secondary school, that is another set of scarring. And going through at high school, everything came back. The tall, slim girl on the more brilliant side, I was also isolated. And then I was trying to fit in. My parents were Christian parents and I would go to church. But I still fought with the fitting in process, where if I go to church and whether it was a boy or a girl, I would be fighting. Because if they say something that I didn't like and I answer them verbally and they don't like it, then I'm going to fight. So I was more persons disliked because I was outspoken and I would fight. So they saw me as being aggressive. So persons, when they do these things now, they cause me to start to resent them and even resent myself even more. Then in high school, I was also teased. And at home, I had to be doing a different level of teasing. As I grew up, I realized that I was almost like a Joseph. I was a dreamer. And when I dreamt things and I would share it with my family, they would laugh. And only my mother would probably believe my dream. Sometimes I'd have nightmares and she'd ask me what it was about. And, she would try to make me comfortable. and, to reassure me, and pray over me before I go to sleep. So I struggled with a fitting in syndrome, for want of a better word, a fitting in syndrome. And that made me vulnerable to anything. Because if it is that I can't fit in, I'm going to physically fight. And if I can't fight physically, I'm going to fight verbally. In high school, I was student council, I was peer prefect, and then I became head girl. So, with these charges, I had the upper hand for the persons in the school who normally tease. And if it is that somebody broke the law, I would exercise that authority and ensure that they were brought to justice, if it is, I can put it that way. But my low self-esteem and me hating myself even the more because of the hand, and the hand was one of the main reasons. My hand not able to function as how I would want it, because even a thing as netball that I wanted to play, I wasn't selected to play netball, and I felt cheated. But God worked it out that I ended up playing netball up to high school when I gave it up. And even while I was playing netball and going to high school, my teachers told me that I had to choose. So everything that I'm good at and successful at, I was always told that I have to give up one for the other. And in my life, I was told because I was tall, I would not get a man because I'm taller than every man. And nobody don't want me. And because persons didn't want me in their group, they kind of isolated me. I really thought that I wasn't beautiful. Well, I didn't use that term. I said I was beautiful, but I was not attractive. I wasn't attracting the type of audience that normal teenagers would attract. And so I hated that fact and really hated the persons around me. But the biggest person I was hating was me. I got saved at age 12. And like that spin-off was another dose of poison, because most young people my age wasn't getting saved. They would go to church and they're in church today, and within another month they're outside of church. But my Christian background wouldn't even allow me to even think of backsliding. And even the way I got saved, I decided that I was not going to backslide, because I believe that the Lord called me, and he called me for a particular reason. Mm-hmm. And even though I was fighting, because I remember my brother and I fought the day before my baptism, and I decided that I was going to kill him. Wow. And my mother intercepted and put herself between the both of us and said, kill me instead. Spare him and kill me instead. So even when I got saved, the persons at church didn't even believe that I was saved, because I went to counseling class for 2 years. And they never took me serious, even though I was consistently going to counseling class. They didn't consider me to be a candidate for baptism. So even to get into church, I was struggling to become a member of the church. Oh, so it's like everywhere I turn, I was an outcast. I was a misfit. And being a misfit makes me vulnerable to anything, to any and everything. At one stage, I considered a life of crime, because probably the life of crime would work out for me much more better and I'd be more accepted. And fortunately, that life of crime seemed as if they were opening their arms, welcome arms opening to welcome me in. But God saved me just before I got, I would say, use the word germinated. Just as the seed was being sown and I was thinking of how to kill, because these things were happening and I was hating people, hating self. I would sit and plan how I would kill somebody, how I would use a knife, how I would use an ice brick. How I sat and I planned, I studied crime, right? So if God didn't call me at 12, I would have been dead long time. I
Thank you.
would have been a wanted killer. You understand? I've been a murderer because I studied crime. I studied how to choke somebody. It is just that this is what sin does.
Yeah.
It makes you hate even the persons around you and not see even the good. And I couldn't see it even when I was saved because I was still struggling and fighting to fit in. Because if I go to Sunday school, I was fighting to fit in just the same. And I'm at church, and if everybody else talking and I am not talking, and once I open my mouth, I am the one that is picked on. So it's because I am taller than everybody. It's because my mouth louder than everybody else. Why is it that I am being picked on? What is the problem? And I couldn't understand what was happening. And I just felt that everybody around hated me. And because they hate me, I couldn't bear to see myself.
Wow.
Now, growing up, and now an adult, and I was told by a brother in the church and probably some other brothers, but his words stood out that I would not get married. No man no want you. Sister, you're taller than every man. And I went to his wedding, and when his wife threw the bouquet, I was the one who caught the bouquet.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the audacity and the gall to come tell me, say, during the reception process, that I can't give away the bouquet because I am not going to get married. And I said, really? You're going to see. I'm going to prove it to you. So these hurtful words stuck with me, and they just, like they said that you carry a basket, go catch water. One day the bottom will go drop out. Well, I was just loading up everything into this basket, loading up everything into my bucket, loading it up, loading it up, loading it up. And there was nowhere to vent it because I didn't have much, I didn't have friends. I didn't have people who I could share and tell them how I feel. Even though there were persons around, they were more looking towards me to help them. So I had no outlet. I was the second child from my dad, the third from my mother, and the first of both parents. So it's like I don't know where I fit in. I was a first child, I was a second child, and I was a third child. In psychology, they said that the first child has most of the burden. The middle child is the one that has most of the burden. So I saw myself as a middle child because most of the persons in my family, my siblings, it was my mother's children. So I saw myself as a middle child and I saw myself as a first child. And whether you're first or you're third, there is like something is expected of you, more is expected of you. And so I was torn between any and every issues.
Mm-hmm.
I kept malice. But when I started to look into life and different situations, I remember when I was going to primary school and playing netball, there was this young lady, a girl at the time, her by the name of Lisa. I don't remember what caused us to become not be friends anymore. But we were no longer friends, and she maliced me. And she was also playing netball. She was the goal defense, and I was the goalkeeper. And if they put her in the circle for goalkeeper, I was goal defense. So we didn't talk. Off the court, we didn't talk. But on the court, nobody could tell that we were enemies because we played that game of netball so well. We passed the ball. She wasn't afraid to pass it to me, nor was I able to pass. I was afraid of passing it to her. So what I did, I started to do was to say, Lisa and I got along so well. Even when I we were playing netball, we didn't let that bother me. So what I did was, whatever situation, whoever hurt me, I can get along with even the devil. So that was my phrase.
Mm-hmm.
I can get along with the devil, right? Regardless of what the devil do me, I can get along with the devil. I know how to smile and do what I'm supposed to do and get along. But that things were being very different hurt, different, the way in which I felt, all of those things were hidden. So as I got I got married and had children.
You did defy whatever was said about you not getting married. You got married.
Yeah, because as a matter of fact, when I got engaged, the same gentleman who told me that I wouldn't get married, he came and he said to me, to my what do they call fiance at the time, husband to be, away do tour, where do tour, and he said, I don't know, I think he said that nothing or but they thought that I was pregnant. So they all thought that I was pregnant. So that was the reason why I was getting married, because to them it was a big surprise. And coincidentally, I got married to a brother within his church, right? So I did defy those words, and I did say I'm going to get married, and I would, you understand? I would. So at no point in time, even though he said those words to me, I told myself that I am going to get married.
Right.
So I never believed him. I never believed. I just hate the words, and the word was just painful. So a little bit of hate and a little bit of malice was there. So what I realized is that after struggling and fighting to fit in so much, there was a time that I could not fight anymore. I stopped fighting and allowed anything and everything to happen. And then I just classify it as blessed is the meek. Blessed is the peacemaker. And as a Christian, you must just leave it and let God. Not that I was wrong, but my reason for saying those things was not wrong. My motive was wrong. Because in truth and in fact, I never let it go. I was just sugarcoating it. I just threw something over the top and expected that it would just be good. And it wasn't so. So I was exposed to abuse, further abuse in my relationship, and I allowed it to happen. And then there came a time.
Meek.
Pardon me?
Thinking that you were being meek.
Yes, thinking I was being meek. Yeah, very much so. Because whenever I was facing a situation, even when everything in me is saying to me that this is wrong, don't let this happen, I just let it slide. And especially if it is that you are married, and they say that wife must be submissive to their own husband, and you must be obedient to your husband because that is what we are taught. So anything that happens, you're going to say, your husband say jump, you're going to jump. And even if it was an investment situation and I don't think it was a right move, I would go along with it because it was his decision. And I realized that I started to hate myself. I was just doing things for people. When I was doing an accounting degree, I studied psychology and sociology. And we were dealing with Machiavelli. And Machiavelli is a person that his philosophy is the space in which you're at, to be accepted in the space, you do what them people them want you to do. And when you move outside of the space, you do whatever it is necessary to be accepted within that situation. And so I took on that type of thinking, that type of belief, and was trying to play the Machiavelli side. But I was deeply hating and regretting me, because the Susanna who I want to be wasn't shining. It was like, oh, you're in church. And then I was the person who wanted my hair to be creamed. Then I was creaming it. Then I stopped creaming it. And then it's like I had so many different things to conform to outside of what it is that I really think that is destroying me spiritually. Because what was destroying me spiritually, it wasn't my hair. It wasn't if I wore makeup. It wasn't if I wore an earring. Those things were not affecting me spiritually, because what? I will get up tomorrow morning, and if my hair is creamed, I'll catch it in one and I'm gone. And for the whole 6 weeks or 2 months, my hair is catching one. I cream it at the hairdresser, and as soon as I come from the hairdressing parlor, my hair is in one. So these were not things that I was saying that I was making my God, or if my hair is not properly groomed, I can't go out. So these things were not defined. It wasn't even the clothes. It was me not being true to me.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I got so disgusted with myself that I realized that I didn't even like who I was. And it was then that I realized I wasn't even looking in the mirror.
Wow.
I would just get up, go to bed, wash my face, move about my daily chores. And I wasn't even looking, even though I'm in the mirror, but I'm not seeing me. I'm not seeing who I was. I'm not seeing who I am. And one day I look at myself in the mirror and I believe what person said, persons who told me that I was ugly. And I really believe being ugly. And then I started to suffer with acne. And no matter what I did, I went to the doctor, but because of financial constraints, I couldn't keep up the treatment. And so I really thought that I was ugly. So I just left it at that. I'm not going to look at no face. And I'm not going to look how anything stay. If I go to work, I was different. Because one, I am a Christian, so I have to be a different person. Two, I wasn't the one that given into gossip. And it's like every sector of life that I go in, I am always the odd person out. So why is it that I need to be fitting in everywhere? I go school, I go work, I go church, I go home, and I still have to be trying to fit in. So what is the point of me being here anyway? I'm just here to satisfy other persons. And while asking myself these questions, I realized that a lot of them I didn't have the answer to.
Mm-hmm.
And even those that I put a little sugar coating answers to say, oh, you're a wife, so you must be submissive to your husband. Oh, you're an employee, so you must be doing this. And I would take insults. Even the person whom I work with, they would insult me, and I just take insult upon insult, and I don't answer them. Because sometimes I would say, okay, for the good of my family, I need to keep this job, so I'm not even going to talk. And I remember crying, just crying one day, just crying. I not know me I cry, but I just know something hurt. Me don't know why, And I was just saying, God, why me? When they born for me, me not dead. Why am I living? What God make you not just take me? God, what the point? What's the point? Because even as a child, I thought about even killing myself and how it is that I would kill myself. But I was a bit of a coward to even slit my wrist. I would prefer to kill somebody else more than to kill myself, even though I prefer God take my life. But I wasn't the one to go and go slit my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Sat down with a knife, planned to slit the wrist, know which other vein where to cut, and I just did not do it. Because as I said, I studied how to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And even myself, I studied how to do it. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're crying and not knowing why I was crying. I started to question God and I started to talk to God. And funny enough, the following morning I went into the mirror and combing my hair, and I just brushed my hair normally like how I would normally brush it. And I find myself say, I saw you're pretty. You're pretty. And then I turned my face the other way and I was there, looking to see the same beauty. And then like it just disappeared. Because by the time I catch up with myself, the beauty disappear. And I remember that even while growing up, I used to go in the mirror. My mother was a dressmaker, so I would go in the sewing room. They're looking in the mirror and say, Mama, I'm pretty, I look good. And she said, you're a beautiful girl. So because other guys would be attracted to them, I said to myself, being a pretty, I am beautiful. And persons would have to look beyond and deep to see the beauty. Not knowing that me, Susanna, would have to look deep to see the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple of days and so I went back to the mirror again. And I stood in that mirror trying to see what I saw a few mornings ago. And I just sat there looking at myself in the mirror, looking at my shape, because this time I was no longer slim, I was no fat. Because when I was slim, I used to pray to be fat. And then I was there cursing myself that I get fat and I wasn't clumsy, because when they said that fat people clumsy, I would normally defend and say, I am fat, but I am not clumsy. I am quite flexible. And indeed, I was flexible. The things that I needed to do, I was able to do them even though I was fat. And so looking in the mirror again, I wanted to see that beauty. And I was there observing myself, just observing it. And then in my observation, the beauty came back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it came back. And I realized that if I'm not looking for it, I don't see it. And then I noticed that when you're married, so when you go out and if a man calls you, even if them say nice girl or whatever, you're not going to pay attention to it because I am taken. So I'm not going to be listening for those things. And then I started to take heed now to listen to what the men outside of my marriage were saying. You're a beautiful woman. You are this, you are that. And they were all describing how I looked. So I said, wait, I have to go find the beauty here with the money I talk about because my people say I just the vagina them want and not even really so much my beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to go back to the mirror and visit in the mirror. And then I realized that I am now seeing the beauty. Proceeding a couple years, 4 years forward, my relationship ended and I was living on my own. And, you know, I started to say that I need I need to, well, before I left, I decided that enough is enough and I'm going to start doing me.
Yes.
And comes what may, I am going to do me. So that was the first thing, the first standing up, that's how I stood up for myself first, was to say, I'm going to do me. And it's not me being selfish when I say I'm not going to do me. I was going to do things that were making me happy. I got tired of being a hypocrite. I got tired of saving face because another thing I didn't mention is that I'm a pastor's daughter. And because you're a pastor's child, there are certain things that are expected of you. So even if I would want to cuss out somebody, I can't curse them out because I'm a pastor's child. If I want to cuss them out, you're a Christian. I was in leadership position at church. So some things I couldn't do. And I felt so hypocritical that the way I felt about myself and how my life was going, it was not matching up. It wasn't lining up to how I believe myself as a child of God should be living or even to be thinking. And so I started to do me. And then I got sick. And in that process, again, that was another whole different dilemma. You know, because when you're not working, it is either that you're going to go back to the situation that you're just coming from or you're going to move forward. And I decided that when I left, if the situation remains the same, I am not going back. And
then it was like everything just tumbled down because you were employed, you left, and now you're with your kids and you have responsibility.
Responsibilities, that is true. Yeah, I don't have no job. I am sick. So how am I going to do what it is that I'm supposed to do as a mother? Right? And it wasn't easy.
Not at all.
And then I was in another vulnerable situation where I am in need of money. Here are these men calling to me. Am I going to listen to them or am I not going to listen to them? Mm-hmm. What it is that I'm going to do, right? And then I became so confused. But a friend, I've never even met the gentleman. He said to me that your relationship did not work out, but you know a good relationship. And you are able to identify a good relationship. Mm. So when someone comes to you that is not giving you what it is that you want or what you consider your ideal, you will know that it is not right. And it is for you to decide if you're going to partake of that relationship or not. Mm-hmm. And those words was like a guide. Another male friend said to me that, Susanna, you're in a vulnerable situation. And the fact that you're no longer living with your husband, you are in a vulnerable situation and a lot of vultures are out there. And men are going to be coming to you left and right. So I said, then how are they going to know? He said to me, men know when women are vulnerable. And because they know you're vulnerable, you are going to be in this whole predicament. Now remember, I'm transitioning in a stage where I am just identifying myself as being beautiful. Right. I'm not working. I am sick. So when you're sick, you can't even fix up yourself. And here it is, I have a low self-esteem problem. I remember when my eldest daughter said to me one day, Mommy, not because you're the home and sick, you hear of a station at the yard. And so she and her sister decided that they were going to fix my hair for me. And you know that about a few days after they fixed my hair, I got called for an interview.
Wow.
No, if them never did fix me here, I couldn't have done the interview because when they called me for the as a matter of fact, they called me for the interview and asked if I could come tomorrow. Right? So that was how quick the interview came. So the hair wouldn't have done. They didn't have the time because they were doing their exams. So I was in this vulnerable situation, hating myself. And not until I said, God, you have to change me. Here am I just going through the whole Machiavelli situation, and I think I am doing the Machiavelli situation with you. And I started to identify what it is that I did not like about myself. I didn't like how I looked, and the fact that I didn't like how I looked, it started with my hand. So I started to have to first accept my hand and the disability that I have, that this hand cannot do everything that I want, but I do so many things with it without even recognizing that I am doing it. Even tonight, my daughter said to me, Mommy is ambidextrous. Mommy use both hands. And I said to my son, yes, I use it, but some things I don't do because it looks queer and I don't want to draw attention to myself. So I would not use it. Because if I'm going to stretch out my hand, if I have something in my hand to give you, I'm going to, and if there's something in my left hand, I am going to put what is in my left hand in the right hand and remove what is in the right hand, put in the left hand and stretch it. All of this work I just needed to do this. Mm-hmm. But because the hand is not going to stretch out properly, I am going to do all of that, or even to put down something out of the left hand to switch what is in my right hand before giving it to you. So all these things I think about. So I started to identify where I went wrong. What was it about myself that I hated so much? And I really started to ask God forgiveness. Because the persons who hurt me, I was able to forgive them. I was able to let go of the hurt. Because when I was holding on to primary school and all of these different hurts, I realized that it was giving me too much headache. I normally have headaches. And Mama would say, why are you having all these headaches? And then I realized because I have too much hate and anger, because I remember what everybody do me, and I could state the date and the time when they did it. And once I started to let go of those hate, I started to stop having frequent headaches. Wow. So now is it that I need to let go of the hate for myself.
Okay, so pause a bit. We were in the first discussion that we had about forgiveness and the what you call it now, repercussions of unforgiveness. That was brought out, you know, oh unforgiveness causes people to sick. And see, now you are an example that you're sharing, that you had that same experience where you were, because you said you could remember date and time when things were done to you and you held them, right? Yep. And we're talking from a child coming
down. And I did not need to write them down. I remembered even the teachers, the things they said, the things they did. And I remembered when they said it. I knew what happened. I could give dates. I can't do those things now.
Right.
But I probably can't give you an overview. But I used to remember it. And my teleman, I used to have some terrible headaches.
Yes.
But you know, God is a merciful God. God is a good God. But once I started to accept myself, once it is that I started to identify and list all the things that I did, the things when I started to think of a life of crime, the things when I was not working, have no money, and when the proposition came, are you supposed to go? Me forgot there with a man there, am I not there with him? Just a thought of even thinking about it. The thought of all of these different things, or how is it that I'm going to get the money? What way am I going to get it? Because thank God for my mother, because she was alive then, and they provided food, and you know, sometimes when my children needed things, she would ensure that some of the materials that they needed for school, they could get them. And then after she passed, my father ensured that at least we could get at least a meal. So I really thought, and I had a roof over my head.
Right.
So I didn't have to be thinking about a roof over my head. I didn't have to thinking about the light and the water while I wasn't working. But once I start working, you have to start to fit the bill. So I had to go to God, and even the very thoughts, the things that I thought about, because when I was married, I thought about killing that man. I looked at him one night. I thought of how I could poison him, how I could stab him, how I could just any and every way of getting rid of him. I thought about it. And I was there in YP one night, and I was sharing with some of the persons. And a gentleman said to me, well, if you think about all those things, I am sure when you are sleeping, think about them things at all. So, I had to start a process of forgiveness, self-discovery, knowing who I am and who it is that I want to be and what it is that I want to project. What type of behavior, what type of persona am I going to still struggle with persons not accepting me for who I am, my beliefs? Am I going to start accepting me for the unique person that God created me to be? And once I recognized that I was so unique, I was so special, I started to see myself as Job. And I said, wait, God, I saw you love me. That Satan come to you and you said to him, have you considered my servant Susanna? And I started to feel special because what? The turbulent temptation and testing that I went through. If God never said I was I was someone who the devil not whether Job, you touch my skin, take away all from me if I'm going to bow, or if you're going to make me sick, am I going to bow? So I realized, I said, God, you really make devil come to you and you go tell him, say, have you considered my servant Susanna? So that level of specialty, I started to feel good about myself because I'm saying, God, you have saved me from so many things and I've been so ungrateful. And that was when I started to identify myself as a child of God, as a person who is called to not just to show up and to turn up and just be there, but somebody who is going to impact persons in a different way. And then I remember when I was going to JTS, a lecturer said to me, you don't even understand your sphere of influence. Because at the time, I thought that I wasn't charismatic. I thought that I could not have friends. As a matter of fact, it was JTS I had friends. It was JTS I knew how to laugh. It was at JTS then I realized that I could actually share with people and be healed. So thank God for JTS, because at JTS, I learned a different side of Susanna, and I learned that there is somebody that I can love and somebody that I can appreciate. And the persons who I encountered there, they made me feel special. I didn't have to try to fit in. You understand? I was just a part of them. And so that cushion there, I probably if it was different, I had to be fitting in, I think probably things would have been worse. But because I didn't have to put in, and I tell you, God knows when to turn up the heat, and he knows when to turn it down.
So there you have it, guys. Another wow moment. This whole issue of hardships and struggles, pain, bitterness, unforgiveness is not unique to any one person. Here you have listened from a woman who, you could say almost from birth, started to feel certain things and experienced ridicule because of how God made her. You have listened to how she progressed through life and even into marriage, where she also experienced pains. Nevertheless, she overcame to the point where she can freely share her story. Join me again as Susanna concludes the story, where she will tell you the lessons that she learned, where she is now, and also encourage you in your own struggle with, maybe it's not just unforgiveness, but there could be other things that you're struggling with that she also struggled with and have overcome. As you go, remember, please leave your comments, share with somebody, and remember, subscribe to the channel. And I look forward to seeing you again as we all listen and watch the conclusion of this intriguing story. Walk with my friends, and you continue to bear in mind that forgiveness is a choice that we all must make. Blessings.